One other thing I'm testing out today is a new pack right there. I've had it out on a couple of trips now. Had to make a few adjustments, but I think I'm finally happy with how it's working. Because I've been invited out on a winter exploration I'm really looking forward to, but I wanted to make sure that I've got all the gear I need in order to make it comfortable, because I don't want to be the one that forces us to go back. And the only way you know that your gear is going to work is if you get out here and test it out. And so that's what we're doing this New Year's. Making sure that my layers and my gear, and importantly my camera equipment, so that I can bring you along, is going to work in these cold conditions. So we'll be back with you later on down the trail. Happy New Year, guys, and welcome to 2015, and welcome to the EconoChallenge channel. I'm out here 3 days after the new year, just checking out some new trails, and as you can see, we've got a dusting of snow, but certainly nothing that you might expect a good Canadian winter to give us. Kind of disappointing, actually. It kind of makes you wonder if some of these global warming enthusiasts are right. Anyway, let's see what we can find out today. Now, I'm testing out some new gear. I'm expecting some really interesting weather coming up from the south later on this afternoon. So I've got on some new gear to try out. Hat. Underneath that I've got my do-rag to help manage the perspiration, because it is -7 at the moment, but warming up. I've got on a couple of layers here, fleece layer and an outer nylon waterproof layer, and then of course I've got my fleece pants on here and my hiking boots with 2 pairs of socks, a liner sock and then a warm merino wool hiking sock. I've just stopped for a quick break here at the fork in the trail, and obviously I have my jacket undone, so getting a little warm, and you really want to manage perspiration in this kind of environment because you do not want to get cold. So I've stopped here and I've opened up a little bit to let some of the heat out, and I've stopped moving for a little while to allow my core temperature to come down a little bit, so my body doesn't feel it needs to perspire in order to keep me cool. Very important in below zero conditions, because you don't want to perspire. When you stop, you'll chill very quickly as if you had gotten yourself wet. You don't want hypothermia to set in, especially back here. As far as I can tell, I'm the only person out on the trails today, so there's nobody to help me except me. So we must keep our wits about us and pay attention to what our body is telling us. As you've probably figured out by now, I'm in a park area on established trails, and they've built some nice shelters along the way for you to rest in. That's out of the elements should you be caught in bad weather. That's nice to know as I go through here. And you most certainly will hear some locals processing firewood. They're not doing that in the park, but on private property just adjacent to this park. Just so you know, some people think winter is a pretty bleak time of year up here in the Great White North, and when you look around, it does look fairly dead. All the leaves are gone off the trees, but that's actually an advantage from a certain point of view. You can see much further into the bush off the trail than you can possibly see in the summertime. And with this slight dusting of snow that we have today, I can see tracks of the various critters that I'm sharing the forest with, more so than I can ever see in the summertime. And I can also judge by the tracks how recently they've traveled along the same path that I'm following. And I always find that really interesting in the winter time. Okay, so I'm about 2 hours into my hike now, and since you can see me, that means I've managed to keep my batteries from freezing, so that's a good test. According to the screen here, I have 190 minutes of time left on the camera, so that's very good. Definitely think that they could have frozen. I'll show you my water here. If I want to drink any of that later on, I'm going to have to put it inside my jacket. It's kind of crispy at the moment. I'm climbing a bit of a hill here just to test out my boots in the cold and the snow to make sure that they can still grip, and so far I'm fairly happy with how they're doing. Now, earlier on in the video I mentioned that it was pretty cool to hike in the winter time because you can see really deep into the woods. So just along there is the trail that I was walking, and I've come up this hill here because I saw this. There's a local Boy Scout club that operates inside this park, and I'm pretty sure that this is a great example of a debris shelter. They've used a tree that's fallen down here as one side of the shelter, and then leaned branches that they have found around the area up against the other side to actually create the shelter. And that's good so that they don't use up too much energy building their shelter. But I have to say that they would need a ton of debris on top of this to seal it from the elements. There are lots of branches sticking out of the top of the roof, giving water an opportunity to find its way down into your shelter unless you've really built up a layer of debris. They've used some man-made twine to tie this up, and obviously that's going to take a long time to disintegrate. And they really should have taken this apart when they were done and tried to leave no trace, because obviously I could see it. I'm going to call this more of a play fort than any kind of survival shelter, really. Probably some wannabe Boy Scouts that built this. I certainly would not give this effort much of a passing grade. I'm about 4 hours into my hike now, and I'm going to use one of these trailside shelters to stop and take in some water that I desperately need at this point, and rest a little bit and take a look at what's inside my pack. Now, this is not meant to be any kind of a review of this pack. I just picked it up, so I'm just getting used to it myself. But there is one significant feature that I was looking for that this pack delivers. It has one large compartment that is accessible from the top, so I can see everything that I have in my pack. And that is really important because I really don't like top-loading packs. I can see everything and I can access everything without having to pull it all out through the top. And that's a feature that I was looking for. One of the things I have in here is some extra water. There you go. And that's good. That's exactly what I wanted to know. If it was going to stay liquid in the 4 hours I was out. And that's a good thing, because I can really use a drink right now. So that's really good to know. I also have an extra pair of mitts, and these ones just go right over top of my fleece mitts like that, so that when I stop I'll be nice and warm. And this is waterproof nylon. This is an extra layer that I can put on when I stop, like I'm doing right now. And so if I haven't been really good at managing my moisture and I've gotten a little damp, I can take off a layer or add this layer for extra warmth when I stop, just like this. And it's a nylon shell with a polyester stuffing, and it will add some extra warmth if I need it. Right underneath this jacket. Just like that. So if I have to stop for an extended period, I'm nice and toasty. Yeah. I also have an extra pair of nylon rain pants, which I can then slip over these fleece pants, and they give me wind and wet protection, and will help keep the warmth in if I stop for a significant period of time. And that's very important. And of course, I also have my world famous cook kit right there, in case I want to brew up a nice hot cup of tea while I'm out here. And then right at the very end, I have my Ranger blanket inside this compression sack I made, and that's again in case I decide to stop and I want some extra warmth. And underneath all of this, down at the bottom, is my camp cot, which doubles as a hammock, which I just happen to have along with me. And probably on another trip I'm going to test out the update here, but that just fits right down in the bottom of the pack here against my back, like so. I'm starting to get a bit chilly. Coat back on. So that's it for what I was carrying inside my pack. I do have some goodies stored in this big pocket on the outside of the pack. Got some food for quick access. Got my soft spot if I want a quick seat while I'm on the trail. And of course, my amazing wilderness camp chair. And the only thing left that I haven't mentioned that I was carrying in the side pocket is the EconoChallenge saw and an extra knife that I use for chopping. And that's it. So, I've had a good rest. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of what I was carrying in my pack on this trip. I'm going to put it all back together now, get back on the trail. Well, we're nearing the end of the hike now, and I want to thank you guys for coming along with me on this trip. It was a good little test hike. My feet are still nice and warm. The headgear worked out well. Still nice and warm up there, and pretty much the whole outfit that I wore worked out pretty good for this kind of weather. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it was about -7, and we're just now starting to get the weather that was predicted to show up. So I'm just gonna finish out here. I'm about a kilometer away from the parking lot, and end this hike, and just say thank you very much for joining me at the EconoChallenge channel and supporting me, and I look forward to seeing you again in future videos. Bye for now. Now, if you want to keep watching the EconoChallenge channel, I've got some links over here. This one up top, that's the snow stove coffee in the woods, and this link down here, if you click on it, will take you to a winter demonstration of my world famous cook kit. And yeah, so you can click this one here if you're on a computer, the link should work, or this one down here, and enjoy.